everybody. My name is Bob Valasek, and I teach English 102, which is composition, and I also teach English 317, which is business writing. And I'm here today asking the question, what's in a name? Which essentially is, does it matter whether professors know their students' names? And I think it does. In Romeo and Juliet, Juliet asked what's in a name. And she also answered that question, saying that it's not the name that's important, but it's the person. I think the best practice really is to show that the person is important by knowing their name. In 2006, when I was starting to teach, I was thinking about something that I could do in order to differentiate myself from professors who maybe I didn't like that much in college. And what I found out about all of them, they had in common that they didn't know my name. So I've made it a point ever since to know the names of all of my students. Is this even important? Well, yeah, I think that it really is. And when I talk to my students, they tell me that they feel more accountable in my class because I know their name. They show up more often, they're scared to miss, which I like, and they don't expect for professors to know their names, and I really think that that's kind of unacceptable. I also know that in art and dance, those majors have an expectation of name knowing, and the students in those majors say that it lends itself to a little bit of a less formal atmosphere, which might be great for some, but not great for others. And if it's not great for you though, what is it exactly that you're looking for? Is it fame? Because to be famous really is to have the maximum amount of people knowing your name while not knowing any of their names. And I don't think that that really works for us. Teaching's a performance, but it's not a fame-seeking one. You might be thinking too that you're terrible with names, but truthfully you're not, because you're here, right? You have a great retention for knowledge. That's part of it. Just find what works for you. Another important reason that I think this is necessary is that we teach millennials mostly, right? Generation Y. They're used to instant results, they're used to constant feedback. Knowing names works for both of those things. They look at me, they're doing 1,000 things at once, why can't I know their name and teach at the same time, right? So another big part of this is that I want my students to feel welcome in my class. If I learn their names by the middle of the semester, I'm not sure that's good enough. My goal is to always know their names by the end of the second class period. How many students is too many? Well, the students will tell you 50. I have 21 students in each of my classes. That makes 84. That's not too many for me. You need to find what number works for you, though. You'll find that comfort zone once you attempt to learn the names. Some tips. Well, the way that I go about learning names is that I memorize the class roster before I even get to class on the first day. Then I put the names with the faces by doing an icebreaker. I also make the students fill out note cards with their names on them. And that works for me. By the end of the first class, I've got them. Additional tips, everyone's going to find their own niche. So whether it's using name tents on their desks for a couple of days, whether it's using different kinds of icebreakers where maybe the students introduce themselves, you'll find what works for you. Just experiment. In my Business 317 course, I teach that the students need to know names because when they go on interviews, they go to networking events, they can't leave without the names. So it's, in this class, something that I need to practice when I preach, right? I also think it's important that professors reduce that imbalance of power when we don't know students' names. Even as freshmen, students need recommendations, they need reference letters, and we need to be approachable, and I think that knowing names is a big part of that. Are you convinced yet? Well, maybe not. I probably just added something to your to-do list, right? Endless list of professorial duties. But really, if you give it a try, I think that that will rise on your to-do list every semester, making it a priority for you, finding it important. I know Towson might think it's important. Since 2007, Towson has increased their retention numbers for first-year students year over year, which is great. I think that studies have shown, too, that closer teacher-student relationships result in greater retention. I don't think, truthfully, that there are any good things that can come from not knowing students' names. If we all made a good concentrated effort across campus to know student names, some really unique and special things might result. I'd like to take a minute now, too, to recognize a couple of people who I met just in the reception time prior to this. So Jay, nice to see you. Bethany, met you for the first time. Amy, very nice to meet you too. See, didn't that feel good? Right? And I also would like to end this conversation with some advice that's been given to all of us. You'll recognize this. Some known social critics, you might call them philosophers, but if I haven't swayed you yet, then maybe they will. Thank you for your time.
Hi, good evening. No?
Give it one more second.
lovely.